Lawsuits tend to be a big waste of time, resources, and money. And if you want a great example of that, look at the NAR lawsuit that was just settled for around $400 million, effectively throwing all of us agents, like myself, under the bus. Friends, what's going on? It's Brad Reynolds with Synergy, hashtag Think Nashville, Think Brad. And this is a continuation video from the previous one we did. But this one looks at the lawsuit through the eyes of buyers agents, listing agents, sellers, and lenders. So stay tuned, we're gonna jump into it right now. So first, buyer's agents. How does this impact buyer's agents? Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're an experienced buyer's agent, one that brings knowledge, skill, and care to the transaction, you're probably gonna be more likely better off than ever. If you're one of the 49% of agents that did not sell a single property last year, you probably need to put your license into retirement and move on. Does it sound drastic? Yes. Does it sound mean? Yes. Does it sound realistic and honest? Yes. What I harped on in that last video is, as a buyer's agent, you're going to now have to get a representation agreement signed from numero uno, the first day. And when you get that signed, try your best to have the most compensation you can while making your client understand you're going to provide the best value that you can, start to finish, in the deal. It's your most important job now, and you've got to communicate it clearly and early. Next, listing agents. Listing agents are probably the most important piece to this whole lawsuit, this whole big deal. Why? Because they're the person who is still guaranteed to get paid regardless. They're working with the sellers and they're gonna get something. But don't become weak, Mr. or Mrs. Listing Agent. Make sure when you're talking to your seller, you don't tell them, well, now you only have to pay 2.5% or 3%. That's what a weak agent does. A smart agent says, hey, look, if you're a seller and you're not offering compensation, you're probably gonna have issues and it's probably gonna take longer for you to sell. So you should probably offer something. Does it have to be 3%? Not necessarily, but you need to offer something. Keep that in mind. Now we focus on the sellers. And Mr. and Miss Seller, you are just as important as the listing agent because you get to decide whether you're paying any compensation or not. And guess what? You should continue to pay compensation. You may have had a weak agent that you talked to or signed with that said, yeah, you don't have to pay anything anymore. It's all now being paid by the buyer to the buyer's agent. But like this video, the last video, so many other videos you've seen have harped on, most buyers don't have any money to pay for good representation. So you're gonna have to be the one to do it. Now, why should you do it? Because if you don't, you're probably gonna be in a situation where your house lingers. It takes a lot longer to sell because there's a lot less showings because buyers and buyers agents know there's no cooperative compensation, which ultimately equals a lower price for you. So you're gonna wanna pay the cooperative compensation because it will wind up selling faster and for more money. Remember, transparency is key, which is ironic because people were saying in this lawsuit there was no transparency, when the reality was there was. Why? Because I could log into the MLS and see what a seller was paying. Now there is none. It's gonna be the Wild West. We're gonna have to go through and see. And ultimately, buyers will wind up steering buyers agents. You heard me right, steering. Buyers will wind up steering buyers agents towards properties that sell and pay compensation. Lastly, we're looking at loan officers, and you all play a very big role as well. I've mentioned how I think this is gonna hurt FHA buyers, VA veteran buyers, and first-time home buyers the most because they're not gonna have money to pay for good representation. And it should be great representation, by the way. So what's gonna happen? That commission fee is probably at some point going to get rolled into the loan. Won't be tomorrow, but it's coming down the pipe. Or there could be a third-party company that comes in and says, we'll pay that commission now, and then you, Mr. Buyer, pay us. It will essentially function like a separate loan. So that's it. That's how we wrap up this video. As always, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, turn our notifications on, and please, for the love of God, in the words of Tommy Boyd, leave us some comments. Let us know how we can get better. And keep tuning in. This is a subject we've worked on, we're gonna work on, it's not going away. And when you're thinking about these big subjects, you need people who are in the know, people like myself, people that are experienced, competent, confident, and can explain what's going on. Don't rely on your neighbor down the street who just got licensed to tell you about this. They don't know what they're talking about, and if you do, you're gonna have a bad experience moving forward. So until then, see you soon. Cheers.